Hi, I'm Kat from Stars and Embers and I am from Australia. I'm doing a BookTube around the world video in collaboration with bookstagrammers.com. In this video, I will show you some Aussie book recommendations, a conversation with other booktubers from Australia, a bunch of bookstores in Melbourne, Victoria, but also a bunch of bookstores in Adelaide, South Australia, because during April, I got to fly home to South Australia for a week. And then there may also be some other clips from what I got up to during my April. But to begin with, I thought I would start with a few facts about Australia. We are in the southern hemisphere, which means during filming, it's actually quite cold today. We have winter in the middle of the year and summer at the beginning and the end. And no, it's not weird that our Christmases are hot, it's all we've ever known. The capital of Australia is not Sydney, it is Canberra, which is housed in the Australian Capital Territory. They're not called shrimp, they're prawns. Vegemite is delicious, and so is fairy bread. It's pronounced emu. And the traditional owners of the Australian land are actually the Aboriginal peoples. There's many different groups. I am in Melbourne and currently on Wurundjeri land, and when I'm in Adelaide, I'm on Kaurna land. At the beginning of April, I got to head home to my home state of South Australia, which was super exciting. In Melbourne, there's this thing called the Skybus, which takes you from the city to the airport. And here is Marvel Stadium. Yes, Marvel. And then here I am at the airport. Before anyone worries, we have zero community transmission in Australia, so we can safely travel. And here's the outside of Adelaide Airport. And this is what home sounds like. And then I went into the city a few times. This here is Parliament House, which is super pretty. And then this here is the main shopping precinct, Rundle Mall. This is where you will find the iconic Moles Balls. This is the Adelaide Railway Station, and it recently had an upgrade, so we checked out the other end of that as well. And then the upgrade goes right past the festival centre and out onto the riverbank. So at the back there, you'll see Adelaide Oval, and then it just goes all the way down to the River Torrens. And this is what Adelaide looks like. I visited a few bookstores while I was in Adelaide. These discount pop-up ones just literally pop up everywhere, and you never know what you're going to find. Like sometimes you'll just find a throwback to your teen years. And then we headed off to our local Dimmicks. Dimmicks is a chain in Australia, and sadly the Adelaide Dimmicks is closing down and moving to a different location, likely a smaller location. As you can see, their store here is emptying out. This back corner is where me and my friends used to spend a lot of our time. So we went for a final visit just to say goodbye. And then here is a Read ebook, which is a bit of a smaller chain. They do discount books and full-priced books, and they're a cafe and a newsagent as well. And this is another type of one where you never know what you're going to find. Like to finish off the day, I found this super cheap hardcover copy of Kingdom of Ash. Hardcovers are notoriously expensive in Australia, so this was a real find. It's time for round 3 of the Because We Can readathon. It is day 1 of the readathon. It is currently 7:37 a.m. I have to leave for work shortly. I am starting the group book, which is Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. This is the Mulan twisted tale about if Shang was mortally wounded in the battle against the Hans and Mulan went to the underworld to save him. Yeah, Because We Can is a go, and I can't wait to see everyone's videos and see what everyone's reading. I'm currently watching Faye from Mystery Date with the Books TBR video. It is day 6 of the Because We Can readathon. This one has just flown. I finished Reflection 2 days ago. I quite enjoyed it. I would actually love to see this as like Mulan 3, like a what if thing in the animation style.
small world.
Back in Melbourne, I went bookshop hopping, so here's some bookstores you should check out if you're ever in Melbourne. Oh, and the State Library too. the end of April, I thought it would be a good idea to get some other booktubers on board, so I rounded some up and we had a Zoom call.
I'm Kat. I am from Stars and Embers and I am in Victoria right now.
I'm Jenna. I'm from the channel Just a Little Bit Random and I am from South Australia.
Hi, I'm Bianca Breen on Instagram and I'm from Western Australia.
Hi, my name is Grace. You might also know me as G Swizzle. That is my channel name, and that is also my Instagram handle, but add the books. It's G Swizzle Books. And I am from New South Wales.
I'm Lana, and my channel name is Law and Lullabies, and it's pretty much that on all of the other things as well. And I am representing Queensland.
My name's Mel. My booktube channel is a book fiend named Mel, and my Twitter is at a book fiend Mel. And I am representing Tasmania.
Some of my favourite Aussie authors are actually from Victoria because they're the ones that I became most familiar with when I moved there. But Amy Kaufman is probably number one. Lily Wilkinson, everything she writes is just friggin' so good. Lynette Noni introduced me to Australian writing. Like, people in Australia wrote fantasy. Who knew? Not me. Wilka Starkus and Astrid Schult, all-time favourites.
Huge fan of Lynette Noni, and also love Jodie McAllister. Read her book, well, one of them earlier. I think it was last year, and oh my god, yeah, that one, and it was so good. Yeah, definitely. I think everyone, if you've ever been on my channel ever, you'd know I have a little crush on the Akane Madoran Chronicles series.
I just finished The Prison Healer yesterday, and I'm obsessed. If you guys don't know, The Prison Healer is by Lynette Noni. That is her latest book. And it just had my jaw dropping to the floor. Absolutely loved it. But also, if you've been watching my channel for a while, like we're talking about back in 2016, you'd know that my first book review was by it was about a book by Megan Jacobson called Yellow. And that kind of opened my eyes to young adult fiction set in Australia. And she was one of the first authors that I met as well.
I remember at school, my favourite author was John Marsden, who did the Tomorrow series.
Oh, yep.
I think my other favourites are Matthew Riley. I really like a couple of his series. And the other one is Jamin Eve. She's an indie author and writes paranormal romance, fantasy, all with happy ever afters. And I actually just got Prison Healer delivered to my door a couple of days ago, so I'm really excited to read that.
I'm assuming that someone has mentioned Garth Nix already, but I'm assuming
We haven't.
incorrectly.
Actually.
Garth Nix.
Would have.
We're all like, oh.
Oh, wait a minute. So he wrote the Abortion Sabriel Abortion series. So he's probably my favourite Australian author. But I recently read The Interrogation of a Charla Wolf by Anne Boleyn Molina, and that was really, really good. That's the only book of hers that I've read, but I immediately went and ordered the next two books in that series, so I'm really excited to get to those. But everything was about snow, and I was like, well, that's not what our experience is. And all the book boxes that are seasonal are always American seasons. They're always, and it's just, I really realized how focused everything was around the States and the UK as well, but particularly around the States. And yeah, it was strange. It was a weird kind of awakening.
Yeah, that's like, everything is so Americanized these days that like coming across something Australian, like if it's like a book box or something as well, I'm always like, whoa, that exists. But then sadly, like I don't think I've seen an Australian book box that has lasted like more than a few years max. It's super sad because I'd love to support them, but then they can't exist because A, everything's so expensive in Australia, and B, they just can't get the same stuff that Americans can get. I
And
guess
thirdly, like they can't get the editions that are printed that will give people the incentive to get that internationally posted, unlike the rest. And that's kind of sad.
Promotion, definitely, because and I'm not even exaggerating here, like I've never read a Love Oz YA book that I haven't liked. Like we genuinely have the most amazing authors and stories and writing styles here that just slip under the radar. And I would love for kids at school, like, you know, much younger kids, to be reading them as well. Like it breaks my heart when I see like an 11-year-old picking up a Sarah J Maas books. Not only are they way too young, but also I just want them to know, like, look what these Australians have done, and you know, this is something that you could do as well. And it's always important to see yourself in a book, even if it's just a hot Christmas, you know. I would love to see more Aussie books in the hands of Aussie readers for sure.
We do have some sort of promotion, but they're once in a blue moon promotions. You know, like we've got Amy Kaufman, Jay Kristoff, as of recently, Lynette Noni with The Prison Healer. But there's only a handful of names. So I'd say that I just hope that at least during the pandemic, as it's kind of probably sparked more stories or has encouraged more people to write, I'm hoping that there's fruit that that will be bared from that, essentially. And also, I just want more book signings.
We talked for an hour and a half, so if you want to see more of this conversation, there will be an extended version over on my channel. Okay, now I want to do some Aussie book recs. So I've picked 5 Australian books that I really would like to recommend to everyone else. 2 are fantasies and the beginning of series, and the other 3 are standalones. And I tried to pick some that not everyone would really know because, like, these guys here, Jay and Amy, are Australian, and I'm pretty sure you all know them. Okay, so the first one is Valentine by Jodie McAllister. This is book 1 in a trilogy. So basically like hot fae, but hot scary fae, and in Australia. I'm going to read the back of the book so that gives you a better explanation of what it is. So, strange and terrible things happened to 4 teenagers, all born on the same Valentine's Day. One of those teenagers is the Valentine, a Seelie fairy changeling swapped for a human child at its birth. The Unseelie have come to kill the Valentine, except they don't know who it is. Pearl shares a birthday with Finn Blacklin. She's known him all her life and disliked every second of it. Now Pearl and Finn must work together to protect themselves from the sinister forces that are seeking them out. But there's one more problem: the explosive chemistry between them. So, fairies, hate to love, Australia, and full of fandom references. Like if you love Vampire Academy is mentioned, and like literally on the first page Taylor Swift is mentioned. I've only read the first book myself, but I am so pumped for the rest of them, and Valentine has been optioned for a TV series as well, so that is exciting. And then my other fantasy one is Akane by Lynette Noni. This is the first book in the Medoran Chronicles. This is a portal fantasy. Alex is starting at a new boarding school, and then she goes to the headmaster's office to, you know, be like, oh, hey, I'm here. And then she falls through a portal to Medora. And then everyone at Medora is like, well, we have to wait for the headmaster to come back before you can go back through the portal. Might as well go to school here. So she goes to school at Akane. So at Akane, these kids have like different powers, and there's just a world full of magic, and Alex is trying to find a way home and find the headmaster, but then she also makes friends at the school, and then she turns out she's like really good at things. But then there's also this looming threat of some bad guys. Turns out she might actually be needed in Medora. This one is super fun. I've also only read the first book, but I own the rest, and I will get to them shortly. So like there's Narnia vibes, there's Harry Potter vibes, there's Vampire Academy vibes, and yeah. Now onto the contemporaries. The first one I have is What I Like About Me by Jenna Guillaume. This is the ARC cover. The other cover is much prettier. This one has been published in America, but the American version is different because they made her take out everything that makes it Australian, which is really sad. So if you can, I would recommend buying the Australian published version because that's the true story. But I'm sure the Americanized version of it is still good. It just isn't as Australian. So this is the story of a girl over the Christmas summer holidays goes to like a beach town with her family, and then there's another family they've always known that also goes with them, and then she knows people in the town as well. Maisie's sister is this like gorgeous human being who has won a beauty pageant in the town a little while ago, and she's constantly being compared to her sister, but Maisie herself is a bigger girl. But then she's sick of feeling down about herself and hearing from other people that she would never be able to win a beauty pageant or anything, so she signs up to the beauty pageant. And then there's a whole story with like her best friend and the friend she grew up with and meeting new friends, and it's just a lot of fun but also touching on serious topics, and it's very Australian. It feels like summer, it feels like Christmas to Australia. Turns out I've always loved Jenna's work. She used to work for BuzzFeed. She still occasionally does write some BuzzFeed articles, and even before I knew it was her writing them, I was like, I love these articles. And then I look back at them, written by Jenna. And then before that, she used to work at Girlfriend magazine, which is like a well-known Australian teen girls magazine, and I loved it. And then I have The Things I Didn't Say by Kylie Fornasia. This is the story of a girl who has selective mutism. So she can speak at home with her parents and siblings, but as soon as she like gets into public or at school, she can't say anything. And it follows how it affects her daily life. This is going to be another one where I'm going to read the back of the book for you. After losing her best friend that night, Piper Rhodes changes schools, determined that her final year will be different. She will be different. Then she meets West, school captain, star soccer player, the boy everyone talks about. Despite her fear of losing everything all over again, they fall in love without Piper ever speaking one word to West. But can a love mapped by silence last? So it follows the love story and them navigating their relationship with her not being able to speak. And there's also new friendships that she forms and the bonds of those, and then a whole lot of like self-worth stuff. And my copy actually has a post-it note that says "You are strong" in it, and it actually was put there by the author, and it relates to what's happening in this story, in that chapter. I don't have selective mutism, but I very much related to Piper's inability to be able to say what she wants in public and actually like be confident enough and speak her truth and everything. And yeah. And the last one I have is This One Is Ours by Kate O'Donnell. This one came out last year. This is the story of an Australian girl who goes to France for an exchange. And once again, the back of the book is going to be able to explain it much better than me. 16-year-old Sophie is a dreamer, an artist, and a romantic. When she goes on exchange to Paris, she is expecting a magnificent adventures of heart and mind. Yet France isn't what she imagined. It's cold and grey, and she finds speaking another language exhausting. Sophie's more homesick than lovesick. But then her host sister, Delphine, and fellow artist Oliver show Sophie a different side of Paris, and she starts to question her ideas about art, beauty, and meaning, about everything. There's the truth in what her best friend Crow has been saying all along. The earth is in crisis and people need to take notice. But what can one girl do? Will Sophie be able to find the courage to fight for change? Delphine is an activist, and Sophie's always been like, well, what can I do? Like, one person can't do much, but then she learns that maybe there is something she can do. It's not going to be big, but small steps can still add up. So Sophie learns how to use her skills and her art to raise awareness for these issues. It's very much a climate change novel, and very slight spoiler, but you could almost see it coming because this book takes place in 2019 in France. So the Notre Dame fire happens in this book. Thank you for watching my BookTube Around the World video from Australia. If you would like to see more of me, there is a link to my channel in the description down below. And thank you so much Bookstagrammers.com for including me in this video series.